Hi, you've heard me talk about Dragon software a few times here and there over the last couple of months, and I thought today I'd do something a little different, which is show you how Dragon works and how I use it for writing. So what you're actually seeing right now is my desktop. I'm using a software called Move AVI, which records things on your computer. And I've used this just once before. This is the first time I've ever done it for something I'm presenting on my blog. So you're seeing my desktop as it would normally look as I'm going in to start a scene. I'm going to go through the same process I normally go through when I'm writing. And this is going to involve clicking on and off the Dragon microphone, which I will still use, but I should be able to record specifically through the laptop mic as well. So here we go. First off, I'm going to put on my headset, and this is what I use when I'm out in public writing. Just get it on and bring it down like this. Now there are actually two mics. I'm using the boom mic, but there's a mic on the laptop as well. Normally what I do when I'm writing is I'll bring up the sound manager and I'll go through the process of clicking off this mic. I'll mute it and then come down here and use this microphone, which is the boom mic. Today I'm not going to do that because once I have Dragon up and running, if I don't have the laptop mic on, you're not going to hear a word I say. But that's how I would normally do it. Then I come down here and start up Dragon. And here it comes. Boom, Dragon. Professional software, because I am a professional. And it takes a bit getting loaded because it loads the user profile. When you first come up in Dragon, it'll ask you to go through a couple of tests so that it can get used to your voice. And one of the things you do need to learn is how to enunciate. If you don't enunciate properly, it's going to come out all mushy. And you will probably see that happening when I'm showing you how it works. So here's Dragon ready to go. And this is the mic app. It shows you that the mic right now, this mic here, is off, and you can go through here and set up all sorts of different things. This is how you exit Dragon. You have tools, you have access to your dictation box, which is what we're going to be using. There's help. You can check your microphone to see that everything is working. Accuracy tuning is something that you can go through to learn how certain words are pronounced, specifically by you. This is supposed to actually work with certain types of accents. When they first set this up, when you begin calibrating it, it will actually ask you what your primary language is, so you can get ready for that. And just by clicking, that minimizes it. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn the microphone on, and then I will go through the process of starting to write. I'm going to show you how I actually write using Dragon, which means you're actually going to get to see me start a scene. This is how I do stuff in Scrivenger. Isn't this going to be fun? Maybe. Now as you see, I've already set my scene to work in progress because I came in here earlier. And come up here, I turn on the mic. And I start. And you'll see the dialog box come up. Right there. There's everything that I've said. But that isn't what I want to put over here in the document notes. So I'm going to clear this off and delete it. And we're going to start anew. So get ready. This is what I'm going to put in. So here we go. Words 04/01/2017 : spacebar, new line. Press Alt T. So what I actually did right there is I told it everything that I wanted it to do. And let me bring up a dialog box again just to show you, or a dictation box. There it is. So here I wrote everything out. And basically I said words, which gives me this first word down here, 04/01/2017. I set up the date, colon, and then spacebar is the same thing as if I'd come down here and press the spacebar twice to give me 2 spaces. New line drops the cursor down to the next line. Press Alt-T. What I actually did there is, once you've written something into the dictation box, the transfer button comes up. The transfer button is a process of, if I was going to use the keyboard, I would say Alt-T or press Alt-T to make it work. So when you're getting ready to write something by saying press Alt-T, you're saying go ahead and transfer the information from the dictation box down to Scrivener. And that's exactly what I did. And you'll see that out there my cursor is at 2 positions, and I did move to the new line. So now I'm going to get ready to set up here. And the best thing to do is write the first line and then format it, which is why I don't have anything formatted yet. I do have it set at Times New Roman, but I normally set this differently and I set my margins differently. So here you go. You're actually going to hear me write. And you may see me actually edit as well. I'll do that in a bit. And if it seems like I'm halting as I'm going along writing, that's because I'm thinking about what I'm actually going to write. And I may have to go through and look up a few things while I'm in the process of doing that, because some of the words just don't copy correctly. And that's not unusual. But we'll get there. So, are we ready to start? Let me click this mic on and we'll see. Here we go. The moment Helena entered Midrian Manor, she noticed something was different. Specifically, comma, instead of there being the half-dozen or so students who normally took Cap Advance, Cap Self, Cap Defense class on Sunday morning, comma, about 40 students were standing around looking as if they were waiting for something to happen. Period. Though Helena didn't often come out to watch a self-defense class, comma, she knew the only time these sort of crowds appeared in the Cap Manor was when a judgment trial was about to take place. Period. New line. Press Alt-T. Go to sleep. Okay, a couple of things I did here. You'll notice everything came out in Times New Roman, and that's because I set it as that beforehand. A couple of things that we have to do in terms of formatting is now I need to set my margins, which I do. I come over here and I set this to 6.5, and then I come up here and I set it to 1.5 line spacing. And then I click on this to get a smart hyphen. Now you notice when I said the word go to sleep, this changed from a green to a blue. And that's because go to sleep is an expression you can use within Dragon to temporarily shut down your mic. It's not off, it's just sleeping. And it's still listening, but it's not recording anything. So you'll see it actually come online when I issue the command that will bring it back online. Now, as you may have noticed, some things didn't get changed, and I didn't change them simply because I want to go through and show you some of the spelling. And most of what I need to do right now is I need to find Midrian and change it. I actually say Midrian. It's actually Grindian manner, as you can see there. And it's the stuff I normally do. I go through and I find these things and I change them, and then everything's set to go. I back this up because now all of my lines from this point on are going to be formatted at Times New Roman, and it will be backed with a right-hand margin of 6.5 and will space 1.5 lines. And that's because I'm carrying now the formatting down to each line. Every so often, Dragon kind of gets out of sync, and you can fix that by just going back out and reformatting, but this does happen every once in a while. Dragon's not perfect. It's just like writers. Your software is only as good as you are, and every once in a while this thing, gets out of whack. So the dialog box comes up automatically when you begin to speak, and as you can see, it worked along rather well. I'm going to show you now what happens when you want to do editing. And there's things that you can do to bring up editing. There's things that you can do to change things as you go along. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to wake the mic up and begin working once more. Wake up. And she knew for a fact that nothing that was about to happen in the next 15 to 20 minutes had anything to do with a judgment trial. Period. Go to sleep. Now, here's something that happens. You can set Dragon to automatically spell out the word or use a numeral. In this case, anytime I'm working with numerals below 100, it gives me the number. So sometimes you have to go back and change these so that you actually spell out the word. I don't want to show 15 or 20 here. I actually want to see the word 15 and the word 20. So how am I going to do that? I go back and edit it, and this is how you do it. Watch. Wake up. Select 15. Choose 1. Select 20. Choose 1. Go to end. Go to sleep. There. I used the editing function to select the words I wanted to select, and then I was given a choice to go out and change those. There are times when you'll get prompts from Dragon that will actually ask you, do you want to use this specific rule? And in this case, I could actually tell it that I want all my numbers to be spelled out, and then it would actually come back and force me to say numeral and then the number I want if I want it to come out as a number, or it would just automatically spell it like I did there. So let's get this written out to Schrödinger. Wake up. New line. Press Alt-T. Go to sleep. And just like last time, you can see I've got a new line there, and it has carried forward the same editing I had from the previous paragraph. So we will continue onward. Here we go. Wake up. Helena spotted Ramona off to one side of the fighting surface. Period. Backspace. Comma. Engaging in conversation with a student. Period. Go to sleep. Now here I want to change something, and you can do this by selecting multiple words and just saying something completely different. Here I don't want to use the word fighting surface. That's normally what I put down the first time, but now I want to edit it because I don't really want to use that. And this is common. You go through and you change it and you change it and change it. As I said once before, you have the opportunity to do all this editing before you finalize what you're using for your first draft. So this is kind of the way I do it when I'm working in that process, and I'll show you. Wake up. Wake up. Select fighting surface. Testing area. Select engaging through student. Select engaging through student. Undo. Select engaging through student. Speaking with a student. Go to end. Go to sleep. Now there you saw me actually screw up a little bit. And sometimes that happens. Dragon is rather literal in how it does things. So when I was trying to change the section of the sentence after the comma, it got kind of messed up. And if you make a mistake, one of the things you can do is say undo. And it goes back and it removes what it is that you had actually said. Now, every time you halt in your speech, Dragon makes a notation of that and will only undo those areas back prior to where you actually halted in your speech. So if you're like me and you speak in sort of a halting lilt when you're writing, you're going to possibly get sections that you have to keep going back and undoing and undoing and undoing. It's one of the things that you have to worry about. Now here, I don't necessarily want this comma, so I'm going to remove it by positioning the cursor to take care of that. And this is how I'm going to do it. Wake up. Wake up. Select area speaking. Area speaking. Go to end. Go to sleep. Now that was a case of where just to get rid of some punctuation, or if you want to get rid of a word or something like that, you could delete it, or you could just speak and overwrite it. And in this case, when I selected the phrase area speaking, it took those two words and everything in between, which is why we got rid of the comma. So let's continue. Wake up. She spotted someone else, though. Colon. ISIS was here. Comma. Standing about 6 meters away and looking as if she was examining her tablet, period. Insert after else. Question mark. Backspace. Backspace. Comma. Select though. Choose one. Go to end. Go to sleep. Now there was a case of I really screwed something up, and I showed you the long way of fixing it. I needed to put a comma in after the word else. And a lot of times when you need to do inserts, you can say insert after a word or insert before a word. In this case, I put question mark instead of comma, and it kind of screwed everything up. You saw it automatically capitalized though. If I had said undo, it would have replaced the question mark with a comma, and it would have decapitalized though. And I didn't do that. So I went through backspace, backspace to get rid of everything. I put the comma in, and then I had to go and change though back from a capitalized form to an uncapitalized form. And that's kind of how sometimes if you're not really watching what you're doing, you can get kind of messed up in Dragon. Now you notice when I said 6 meters, it automatically spelled out the word 6 and added in the word meters. That's because at one point earlier on when I was working with Dragon, I set a rule that said if you're describing a unit of length, like feet or meters or something like that, spell out the length and use the full word of the unit of measure. So it didn't put M, it put meters. It's the same thing if you said feet or foot, it wouldn't put FT. So those are some of the rules you could set. And if you notice also too, it does the proper spacing after things like colons, question marks, and periods. And it will readjust to get those correctly if you make a mistake. Or even if you do something like add one of those. If I had done a run-on sentence here and then decided to add a period somewhere, it would automatically adjust the line. I'll show you how that works. Wake up. This was highly unusual as ISIS had no reason to be here. Semicolon. Backspace. Hyphen, hyphen. Unless she was working with something that had to do with her office, period. Go to sleep. Now this is where I'll come down and start looking at what I want to write, how I go through my editing process, because I'm really not happy with this last sentence. It just seems highly convoluted to me. And I'm trying to get the thought in my head as to what I really want to say. So, thinking about it. It's just like when you're writing normally. And let's just select that whole section and get rid of it, or at least adjust it a little bit. And since I don't want to chop it up into pieces and do something unusual with it, I'm just going to overlay it and completely rewrite it. Let's do that. Wake up. Select this through Office. It wasn't normal for her to be here, as it wasn't necessary for her to be present during this test. That is, comma, unless she was here to check out something that was needed for the test. Go to sleep. Now here's where I actually created a run-on sentence. So I'll show you how I edit this by putting in punctuation. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a delete, but I'm going to do that by just overwriting something. And here I'll show you. Wake up. Insert after test. 1. Period. Select that as unless. Unless, comma, of course, comma. Go to end. Backspace. Ellipse. Undo. Comma, like some equipment she may have installed. Hyphen, hyphen. New line. Backspace. Press Alt-T. Go to sleep. So there you saw me using it to move words around, to format things as I wanted them formatted. And even then, after I get this, it's not unusual to go through and cut a few words, change a few things here and there. Like here, you see, I don't really need those words. But you really can't bring this up again in a dialog box and re-edit it. So I just change it here as it's needed to be changed. And the reason I didn't do a new line here is because when you're setting up a new hyphen, I want a smart hyphen, and I just hit enter to be able to change it there because Scrivener is set up to automatically change things. So let's continue on, and I'm going to start doing some dialogue now so you see how that works. And I hope I'm not putting you all to sleep, but this is kind of fun. Wake up. The moment she saw Ramona heading in her direction, select Saw A, Saw, go to End, Helena raised her head in the sonata. Select and is not to gain her attention. Period. The martial arts instructor headed for her directly and greeted her with a slight smile. Period. Open quote. Glad to see you made it. Period. Close quote. New line. Press Alt-T. Go to sleep. So there, when you're setting up quotes for dialogue, you have open quotes and you have open single quotes. And open quotes are the normal two-line dialogue quotes that we use. Single quotes are, of course, you can use those to embed inside of dialogue. Like if someone is actually quoting another person, they would do that. And you would use the same process as I just did here, except I would say open single quote, close single quote. Here it's open quote, close quote. You set that up behind the front and the end of dialogue. You do the same thing with other pieces that you put on within a Word document like this, where if you're doing it with brackets or parentheses, you say open paren, close paren, or open bracket, close bracket. You know, and that does it for you. It encases whatever it is you need to encase. Went rather quickly there. Wake up. Open quote. Wouldn't have missed this for the world. Period. Close quote. Helena stepped closer to her fellow instructor and turned so her back was towards the majority of the milling students. Period. Open quote. What the hell is going on? Question mark. Why are all these people here? Question mark. Close quote. Select people. Students. Go to end. New line. Press Alt-T. Go to sleep. Now, in case you may have noticed, these double quotes that Dragon is putting in are a little bit different than the smart quotes that Shrivinger uses. And in order to change that, which I do, I just press Control Title on my keyboard and they're all substituted automatically. I will usually wait until I have several lines of dialogue in place before I'll change everything. Sometimes I'll do several hundred words before I change everything. So let me see. I should find a way to get some spelling in here. That would be a lot of fun. So, but now this is everything that I've written. 268 words, as you can see down here. So far the story's coming right along, isn't it? And let's do one other line, and let me see if I can get into a spelling situation. Let me see if I can come up with something. So I probably might be able to do this. Wake up. Wake up. Open quote. Oh, comma, this. Period. Close quote. Ramona looked around and switched to Esperanto to answer the question. period. Open quote. You can thank ISIS for this, period. Apparently, comma, she sent out an email before breakfast inviting any students to the Cap Manor to watch a training exercise, period. Close quote. Select manner. Choose two. Select any students. Students. Insert after apparently. Insert after comma. 2. Backspace. Go to end. Her left eyebrow raised slowly as she turned her gaze in the direction of the Cap Chief of Cap Security, period. Open quote. It certainly wasn't my idea, period. Close quote. Select raise. Choose one. Select turn 2. Choose one. Go to end. New line. Press Alt-T. Helena was surprised to hear this, comma, as it was unusual, comma, if not completely out of the ordinary, comma, for ISIS to interject herself in daily classwork. Select completely. Delete that. Go to end. Period. The Cap Chief of Cap Security never became involved with the instructor's classes unless there was a security concern that needed addressing. Hyphen, hyphen. And even then, she herself rarely became involved. Process. Undo. Period. Unless ellipse. Select really. Choose one. Go to end. New line. Press enter. Undo. Press Alt T. She pointed in the tall woman's direction. Period. Open quote. What's she checking on her tablet? Question mark. Close quote. Select what you. Spell that. Cap. W-H-A-T apostrophe S Y-O-U. Backspace, backspace, backspace. Spell that. Cap. W-H-A-T apostrophe X spacebar Y-O-U. Choose one. Select you. She. Go to end. Go to sleep. It took me a bit of time to get to it, but you saw how when I said spell that, it came up with an additional dialog box that allowed me to spell out how I wanted a word to appear. And if you notice, I screwed it up when I was spelling. So I actually had to select all of my misspellings and respell it, and then select it to be put down into the dictation box here. It's not unusual to do that. And there's even ways that you can do that without bringing up the dialog box. And I'm going to show you one example, which is basically I can spell as I go along. So watch this. Wake up. Wake up. Spell that. W-O-M-A-N apostrophe S. Go to sleep. Now sometimes Dragon will do this. Will do things like this where I didn't ask for it to be capitalized and it did. And one of the things you keep hearing me say every once in a while is like when I was saying Chief of Security. That's a title, so I want to capitalize. So I said Cap Chief of Cap Security. Cap means that the word is to be capitalized. In this case, woman's doesn't need to be capitalized, but sometimes Dragon will capitalize stuff based upon inflection in your voice, if you can believe that. So I'm going to fix this. Wake up. Wake up. Select woman's. Choose one. Go to end. New line. Press Alt T. Ramona nodded toward the test area. Period. Open quote. Look out there. Semicolon. What do you see? Question mark. Close quote. New line. Press Alt T. Press Control Title. Press Alt C. Control Title. Sometimes those commands you want to institute don't always take place. So as you saw, I just wrote 406 words of the next scene. Using Dragon. And that's pretty much the process I go through when I'm dealing with it. It's how I actually go about writing on a daily basis. So this morning I wrote about 830 words using Dragon. Right now I've written 406. So at the moment I have almost 1,240 words written out for today, which is pretty good. And you've gotten to see the beginning of the next scene, which happens to be, if you have figured out from the title up here, Testing Collie, we're going to get to see Annie and Carrie finally doing their match, their test, their martial arts test. It's going to be interesting. So that's it. That's how I use Dragon. It's not something that everybody might want to use, and for some of you it probably was kind of boring to see me go through the process of speaking all of this out. I assure you though, once you get involved in working with Dragon, sorry about that, and learning how it goes, it actually becomes kind of intuitive. And what's really nice is when you're doing dialogue like I do, if you're comfortable in speaking in your characters' voices, and not necessarily accents or anything like that, but if you're comfortable in speaking in their voices, how they would normally speak when you're writing this stuff out, dialogue goes extremely fast. It's quite incredible. So there have been nights when I get into areas that are dialogue heavy, where before I know it, I've ripped off 700 or 800 words without even realizing I've done it. It's very easy to use. So that's Dragon. I hope you found this intuitive. I hope you found it instructional. Intuitive probably isn't the word you wanted to use. I hope you found it instructional. And I hope you enjoyed this, and take care. We'll talk later. Bye.